Hello and welcome to Silver Screen Smackdown. I am your host, Alec Roman, and today we'll be throwing down the only way three movie nerds know, absolutely screaming at each other. Our three fighters today are Eric Almquist, Wyatt Mays, and Tom Smith. How you guys doing today? You guys ready? Ready to yell about some movies?
I'm always ready to yell.
Ready?
On the verge of yelling any moment.
The fact that it's movies makes it easier.
And I can support, yes, absolutely.
And more
Support these claims?
Yes, this is gonna be like a bar fight except with cameras.
Sounds good to me.
Not throwing cameras though.
Okay, gentlemen, here's how the game works. There are 3 rounds with 1 question per round. You will have 3 minutes to battle each question. Before that, you will get a chance to give an opening statement about your answer, and then the round will begin. The same will go for the following rounds. At the end of each round, I will decide who gets the point based on who gave the best argument. After all of 3 rounds, the 2 players with the most points will move on to the speed round. In the event of a tie, there is a tiebreaker prepared once you've given all of the answers that you already know about each other. And we will have 20 seconds to explain why you chose the answer and 10 seconds to rebuttal against anyone else's answer. At the end, I will decide who gave the least compelling argument, and that person will not move on in case there's a tiebreaker. You will all have your answers prepared, and you guys know each other's answers, so you're ready to debate. And if there's no questions left, let's get ready to start the Smackdown. So the first question, who is the best director of the last 15 to 20 years? Eric, lead us off.
All right, so best director past 15, 20 years, Christopher Nolan. He began his film career 20 years ago, did his first feature The Following, huge independent movie, very well received critically and by audiences. And then the next movie after that he does is Memento, which is one of the best thrillers of recent time. I love Memento, great film. And then he goes on, and he does other stuff. He does the Dark Knight trilogy, revamps the superhero genre, and Batman. Prior movie was Batman and Robin, which was not good. So to come back and do Batman Begins and The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, which is arguably the best movie trilogy as a whole, I'm talking about, is establishing. And I mean, he's had success in every genre, almost every genre. Sci-fi, thriller, drama, war films with Dunkirk, superhero movies. I mean, he can show he has a very good understanding of filmmaking in different genres, what's required in those genres to make them good, make the audience like them, and the critics like them, which not a lot of people understand how to do.
Perfectly understandable. Wyatt, who you got?
I got Paul Thomas Anderson, which is a name that not a lot of people know, but you know his movies. His first real breakout movie, which is exactly 20 years ago, is, sorry, forgot the name of it, Boogie Nights, which is a movie about porn, which is a very, very odd subject to make a movie about, but it was very well critically received. It told a very interesting story. Mark Wahlberg, who's not a really good actor, was actually good in that movie, kind of, which brings me to my second point. He's also kind of made Daniel Day-Lewis. I can argue that he's made Daniel Day-Lewis kind of the star that he is today, and also he did Daniel Day-Lewis's last movie. He's also done his best movie, which is There Will Be Blood, where he went out in Texas and was an oil man, and that is one of the most legendary movie performances ever. And I really attribute that to Paul Thomas Anderson telling him what to do more so than Daniel Day-Lewis's method acting. Not to say he's not a great actor, but all of his greatest hits, all Daniel Day-Lewis' greatest hits was all Paul Thomas Anderson films.
All right, Tom, who do you got? Who's your best director?
My choice for best director in the past 15 to 20 years is Steven Spielberg, which is an interesting choice, you might think, because Steven Spielberg, he's been around for a while, so, last 15, 20 years, you might not think, maybe his past stuff is better than that. I disagree. I mean, 20 years ago, Saving Private Ryan, 1998, great film. Widely known as one of the best World War II films, for sure. Tom Hanks, great guy. Minority Report in 2002. You've got War of the Worlds, 2005. War Horse in 2011, which is also a really underrated film. And Lincoln in 2012, and then most recently Ready Player One, which are all were met with great critical praise, and fans enjoyed them too. And I mean, he's the most consistent film director that I know of. He's kind of the granddaddy of films. Everybody wants to be Steven Spielberg. I mean, J.J. Abrams literally prays to him every night. So, and he started the Indiana Jones, franchise, really, which is still going on today, depending on what you read. And then also the Jurassic Park franchise, he was hugely influential in, which we all know Jurassic World is the 5th highest grossing film of all time. So, I mean, that's not bad for a director, and he's still relevant today, even though he's been making films for so long. That's why I think he's the best director we have around.
All right, well, we've all given our 3 answers. Put the 3 minutes on the clock. Guys, argue with each other. Let the battle begin.
Yeah, I'm gonna go after Steven Spielberg first, because here's the thing with Steven Spielberg is that he hasn't made a good movie in a very, very long time. Like, yes, he had The Post last year, which was like okay, but it's like not like one of the best journalism movies I've ever seen. Honestly, I cannot watch.
Steven Spielberg is well known for his journalism films.
Yeah, yeah, but no. You're gonna sit there and try to tell me like he's one of the best guys of the last 15, 20 years, and his last really notable Oscar-nominated movie, it really wasn't even that good. In fact, War Horse, I can't even watch that without falling asleep.
Well,
because it's not. Because I don't care.
More sleep, Wyatt, because it's a great film, and I encourage you to watch it.
I did watch it.
Let's face facts. If you were to ask anyone in this room, who here saw Phantom Thread?
There's not many people in the room.
There's not as many people in the room. There's no one's seen the movie.
I'm talking about a general audience. They're not going to see a Paul Thomas Anderson film. How many people have seen Magnolia? How many? Yeah, well,
I've seen it.
Supporting him, but I'm saying a mainstream audience doesn't like that type of movie. Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler is okay at best.
I agree with that. It is not.
Boogie Nights, by the way, came out in 1997, but that's besides the point.
Oh,
no, check the IMDb. I want to check the IMDb on that. I'm pretty sure it was 1998.
Anyway, first movie that came out in 1998, I think, was Magnolia. Could have been 99, but you know what? I'm spitballing here. So, now, PTA movies. Yeah, PTA is a good director. I'll gladly attest to him being a good director. I think he's one of the best directors in modern time.
I think he's one of the best directors in ever.
There Will Be Blood is a great film. There Will Be Blood is a phenomenal movie. But here's the thing. Who's going to be talking about Phantom Thread years from now? Who's talking about Magnolia? Who's talking about Punch Drunk Love? Nobody.
In Magnolia, you had raining frogs. I think that's a clear
conversation.
Nobody knows
that because nobody's seen Magnolia.
Well, then that's on them. But like,
we should talk about something a little bit more.
But those movies are actually
like The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
Which you're a huge fan of, I'm sure.
You do not like The Dark Knight, though.
Fan.
We have you on tape saying you don't like The Dark Knight, though.
This is true, but look. No, here's the thing with The Dark Knight. You have to understand. First of all, okay, who has won an Oscar for a superhero film? Heath Ledger for Best Supporting Actor in The Dark Knight. Dark Knight was also nominated for Best Editing. How many superhero movies, aside from special effects, are really nominated for Oscars? And he took a superhero genre, which for the most part was viewed as a blockbuster kind of thing, like, oh, they're just made to make money. And he made it serious, and he said, no, they're going to be taken as Oscar-winning movies. They're going to be taken as serious movies. And people go out of their way to see Christopher Nolan movies. When Dunkirk came out, they're like, oh, Christopher Nolan's doing that, we got to see
Dunkirk
it. Inception,
people talk about
good of a movie.
Dunkirk was disappointing. I'm sorry, Dunkirk was very disappointing.
92%
Also, you want to talk about
was it
visual
the Best Picture nomination, or was it the 92% on Rotten Tomatoes?
We're putting a lot of faith in the Academy
Rotten Tomatoes is just like
92% on Rotten Tomatoes is more than the Academy. And you can look at the audience.
Everybody lobbies for those nominations and the wins. It's not about what film is the best. It's all opinion.
The Oscars is like the most.
Let you finish.
All right, the Oscars is the most misunderstood awards ever, but it's also the most prestigious. It's also the one that's been around the longest. So having an Oscar nomination or having an Oscar win really means something. Speaking of special effects, that's the only thing winning mine.
You got 1 point, Wyatt. Come on, man. We had 3 minutes.
All right.
You got 1 point in. That's good. After hearing all of your arguments, I will admit that I am a huge fan of PTA and Daniel Day-Lewis, and creating him as an actor. There Will Be Blood is a terrific film. And I did see Phantom Thread. It was very, very good. And I do love Steven Spielberg more than anything. You know, watching the Indiana Jones trilogy as a child was one of the greatest things in the world. But I will have to say that I feel that Eric has brought up a really good point in the revitalization of the superhero genre. We sat there for a long time and dealt with some pretty subpar movies until Christopher Nolan kind of took it into a more serious direction for the first time in a very long time. Where it was finally non-campy anymore. So I'm going to have to give the first round to Eric for his Christopher Nolan choice. I know you may disagree.
Guys. I mean, there's 2 other rounds, you know.
Yeah, there's 2 more rounds. We got more time. So Tom, since you disagree evidently, we'll go to you first.
Oh, cool.
What actor or actress has the best film resume?
All right, so when thinking about my answer for this question, I thought, who, when I see them on screen, do I just get a huge smile on my face? And that is Samuel L. Jackson. No, not Lawrence Fishburne. Samuel L. Jackson. The man himself, he can do anything he wants. He goes from kids to R. He goes from, where's my super suit, to motherfucking snakes on motherfucking plane. This man is a legend. He has been in films, like, sometimes you don't even know he's in there. He's buried in there. But then years later you watch Samuel L. Jackson. He's got a clear path to now. Tarantino loves the guy. I just want to name off a couple of his movies since we're talking about resumes. I think these would be on Sam Jackson's resume. Goodfellas, 1990. Small role, but he's in there. He's great. Jungle Fever, one of my personal favorites. Spike Lee. Jurassic Park. Pulp Fiction, which he was nominated for Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, if we're looking at the Academy. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Time to Kill, Unbreakable, and Glass, which is coming out next year. Star Wars, all three of the prequels. He was a great character in there, I think. Purple Lightsaber, great for cosplayers. I mean, they get another color, but thanks to Samuel L. Jackson. Incredibles, 2004, and then Incredibles 2 recently. Snakes on a Plane, Other Guys, Django Unchained, Kingsman, Hateful Eight, Kong, Skull Island, and who could forget the MCU, Nick Fury. He is the glue that held all those films together because you had to choose a well-known actor for that, despite the fact that Marvel kind of, made Nick Fury look like him in the comics more recently instead of, a white guy. So I think Samuel L. Jackson is the clear choice for, best film resume. If I was putting a film together and I got his resume in the mail or over the computer, the internet, I would put Samuel L. Jackson in my film because he is consistent and he is just a treasure.
Well, since you've been staring daggers into Eric's eyes for that entire thing, Eric, I'll let you kind of go with your choice. Best actor, actress resume.
I'm going to say Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks. I don't think Tom Hanks has ever given a bad performance. Now, we are looking at resumes here, people, okay? So, I mean, this is just to name a few. And he's actually like one of the lead people in these movies. He doesn't just make a brief appearance. All right, Toy Story, one of the best animated movies of all time and franchises. Forrest Gump, Green Mile, Philadelphia, Saving Private Ryan, Castaway, Terminal, Catch Me If You Can, Apollo 13, A League of Their Own, Sleepless in Seattle, The Money Pit, and The Burbs. I know people will say The Burbs isn't a big movie, but huge cult status, all right? And here's the thing with Tom Hanks that's so good, okay? Yes, he gives Oscar-winning performances, and he could play very good, serious roles and things like that. But again, just like Christopher Nolan, he's had success in multiple genres, and he does it very, very well. He knows what's demanded of him, and he delivers. So he can do an Oscar movie, but he'll also do a movie for fun. Like, A League of Their Own is not going to win an Oscar, but it's a good movie. It's a cult movie. People know A League of Their Own, okay? People know Toy Story. People know movies like The Money Pit and Sleepless in Seattle, Apollo 13. I mean, none of those movies won Oscars, but they're cult movies. They're phenomenal movies. And I mean, to find something that's not, to find something bad on his resume, I mean, there are a lot of people who have good things on the resume, but they also have a lot of bad stuff. And him, just solid all around.
Why? Who's your best actor, actress resume?
Before I answer that, Mace Windu was the Jedi
Oh, we have time for argument.
All right,
I want to hear your answer.
I feel attacked.
Leave Tom alone until later.
I'm gonna go with Meryl Streep because Meryl Streep, as we're talking about the Oscars, like I said, is like the most misunderstood Oscar categories like ever. She has 27 Oscar nominations, 3 wins, but 27 Oscar nominations. There's an argument that she should have won like 14 of those. And her first Oscar nomination was actually one of her first movies, which is Kramer versus Kramer. And I think this small little story is like basically puts in a claim to like how good she is on camera. In Kramer versus Kramer, Meryl Streep was supposed to be just like the put away character, like an early Samuel L. Jackson, where, she's just there. She's like a one-night stand, and she's kind of off. And then there was like a little issue with production, and she became like opposite Dustin Hoffman. And she was so good and so demanding and so powerful on screen. One, Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman have never made a movie together again after that because she demanded so much of the character and everything, and they just did not like each other after that. And then 2, she got an Oscar nomination out of that. And then it happened 26 more times. She's been, even in the movies that she's won, you talk about Sophie's Choice, you talk about The Deer Hunter, you talk about, I mean, even her most recent ones, Devil Wears Prada, and like, I know it's like an okay like rom-com-y film, but like, she transforms herself on camera every time. At one point, she can be this huge, bigger-than-life like fashion person. Another way, she can be this Polish woman who had her children separated away from her and made one of the most iconic scenes ever. and literally will make anyone cry. It makes me cry, and I've seen that movie like 6 times. So Meryl, again, one of the most, she's also from Summit, New Jersey, which it's just a little fun factoid, so Jersey girl. Meryl Streep, I just absolutely love her.
Okay, so we've all heard everyone's answers. 3 minutes on the clock. Start the argument. Go.
So, film resume. You're making a film. You're getting a resume. You want someone, I don't care. If I'm writing a kid's film or rated R, I know that the kids or the adults, they're going to love Sam Jackson. You know, Meryl Streep's a great choice, so is Tom Hanks. But, I mean, you know, Sam Jackson, I mean, they just de-aged him for Captain Marvel. He can do anything he wants now. You can do any film with
There's
Samuel
de-aging
Jackson.
everyone for
He might
those
even come
Marvel
back
movies.
for Star Wars.
Dude,
He loves Star Wars.
He's gonna come back with half a
Uncanny
hand.
Valley? You want to talk about Uncanny Valley? Look at Princess Leia at the end of Rogue One. But
Why are we talking about Rogue One?
anyway, anyone can get young down is what I'm saying. Like Samuel Jackson is not that essential to a movie. I'm sorry, he just isn't.
He is.
He's just kind of like
He is. You see how many incredible films he's been in?
Yeah, but
I
if you're
think there's
looking
an
at-
He also
argument
has
for
been in a
Samuel
lot of
Jackson.
crap.
Yeah, but if you're looking
Motherfucking
at
stakes on those motherfucking planes. It's
Dude,
like,
you want to talk about crap?
That's-
Mamma Mia 1 and 2.
I was gonna
Okay,
bring that up.
let's
Thank
look at that. Ricky in the Flash. Remember when Meryl Streep did that movie with her daughter and she was a rock star? Yeah, that gave me douche chills. Thanks, Meryl Streep. I'm saying, you're looking at a resume, okay? You're going to say someone has their pros, someone has their cons. Tom Hanks has like no cons. Look at the film resume. Tell me a really bad movie on Tom Hanks' resume.
Cloud Atlas comes to mind. Which
It's not a bad movie.
It's a
Just because you don't
god-awful,
understand it doesn't
shitty,
make it bad.
Shit movie. I'm sorry.
Let me ask you a question though. Has Sam Jackson ever given a bad performance that's like made the movie worse? I think
Has
there's
his
been some
perform-
bad movies for Sam Jackson, but he has been good consistently in every single one.
But has
He's
his
always a pleasure to
performance-
see on screen. You never
Streep
think
plays
that
the
movie
same
was
character in
bad
every movie.
because
That
Sam
is not
Jackson
true
was
at
bad.
all.
Yeah, actually
I'm
it is.
sorry, that is not true.
Mamma
You're
Mia
gonna
was
tell-
bad because Meryl Streep can't sing. So
Okay, yeah, Ryan Gosling can't sing in La La Land, but that is also a really good movie too.
Yeah, but you know what? No one had a
Transcend
dub.
that.
At least he went out there and did
Yeah.
it. That's called acting. Meryl
Yeah.
Streep didn't act or try to sing. Okay? She's so great.
The
I have
queen
20
of no
nominations,
doing
but I can't sing
sequels.
when they want me to.
Yeah.
You know what? Ryan Gosling has 2 nominations and no wins, but at least he went out there balls out and was like, I'll try and sing. I got this because that's my job.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
act.
good
Yeah,
point.
and Meryl also has the hardware
Meryl
too.
Streep never does sequels. Why would you want to hire her if you're doing a film? You make a lot
You
of
want
money.
to hire her to make a movie that's going to inspire people who
She's
watch the
gonna be like,
movie
well, I'm
and
not
other
doing the
movie
next one.
makers to make a
I'm not
movie.
doing the
What was,
next
the
one.
what was the last movie Meryl Streep did? Tell me right now.
The Iron Lady. I mean, no, not the Iron Lady. The
Mamma
last
Mia
movie.
too?
No, the last movie she did was the Suffrage movie, and then she also did The Post, which is like.
Wow, yeah, 2 movies that are just, you know, I see them on the wall.
Yeah, people
behind
are
me.
lining up
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
saying, I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
those
look.
movies.
Look, don't
Tom
get me
Hanks
wrong.
is in classic movies. People love Toy Story, Saving Private. These are movies people will remember for decades.
Sure.
Yeah,
Everyone
people
will
aren't going to remember half of Meryl
Same with
Streep's
Samuel
movies.
Jackson.
Everyone remember that
Same with
movie, but,
Samuel
like-
Jackson.
Dude, he was in the RoboCop remake. I can't. I'm sorry.
He makes
No,
everything.
Samuel
He was in the
Jackson's
Return
better.
of Xander Cage.
Samuel L. Jackson is a delight.
No, he's not.
Yes, he
I'm
is.
sorry. Like,
Yes, he
I
is.
can't. I don't know why you picked him because like Samuel L. Jackson.
Why? Because he's got an impressive resume. You look
But
at
he's
these,
playing brief roles in a lot of these movies.
Let Tom finish his point.
Okay.
Here's the last
You
point.
look at the list of films he's been in, you see, you know, he is consistently just giving out great performances, which is what's important in a film, whether it's going to be bad or not. He can transcend a bad film and, you know, leave the viewer with a smile on their face, which is what I want if I'm hiring an actor or actress.
Okay. So for my decision, I'm going to have to say, unfortunately, Tom, I'm going to have to go against you again. Sam Jackson is a bit part character in most of the movies you named. His early career, he was just kind of there. He only has a purple lightsaber because he demanded that he be in the movie. Otherwise, he was prepared to walk away, and George Lucas didn't give him it. So I wouldn't say it's a great acting choice. It's more of a, I'm just going to be mean for the sake of being mean choice. I do love Tom Hanks. I do love Meryl Streep. But I'm going to have to give it to Meryl Streep just because Tom Hanks did have Cloud Atlas, which is not a great acting movie for him, although it's not a terrible film. And he kind of just plays Tom Hanks in most movies. He doesn't play a character, he's just Tom Hanks as. I think that most people recognize him as Tom Hanks. I think people can recognize the different characters Meryl Streep has played and identify them as different than Meryl Streep herself, which I'm going to have to give it to Meryl Streep for that one, for being that part of an actor's job is to portray a character, not portray themselves as a character. So I'm going to have to give it to that one for you. But for the last question, Wyatt, I'll lead off with you. What is the best generation-defining movie of all time?
I'm gonna start off by saying like this is like a question that took me like days to like really like kind of tackle because like what you're really saying is a movie that inspired other filmmakers. So for me, I would have to go with Singing in the Rain, because it's a movie that came out in 1954, which is like right before the big jump that Hollywood make to make all those musical movies. Like you're talking about The Sound of Music that came after that. You're talking about West Side Story that came after that. You're talking about Mary Poppins that came after that. Like all those movies, like really The Sound of Music is kind of like one of the first ones to actually really do it and do it well. And not only do it well, I think I'm pretty confident that they won at the Oscars. I'm not entirely sure, but I know they're nominated. And then the other half of Singing in the Rain, which is also really good, is that it's an epic movie with like an epic story. It's a very long storyline about these like these two guys and a girl who just want to make it in Hollywood and just try to make it out there. And it takes like, I want to say like it takes like in the place of a year, which again, if you look at Hollywood after that, one of my favorite movies is Giant, which is another big, long, epic storyline where it just expands. Well, that one's a little bit longer, but it expands like almost like a generation of people. And Singing in the Rain was like the first one to have that kind of long, or one of the first movies that had one of those long storylines that really did well. So that would be really my choice.
Tom, what's your pick?
My pick is The Breakfast Club, which is one of my favorite John Hughes films, and just films in general. I think when I think of generation defining, I think of something that everyone, any viewer can relate to, really. So I think, you know, the good part about this film is everyone was a teenager at some point. Everyone's gone through high school. Everyone has struggled with, you know, growing up, being an adolescent, and this film really tackles that and shows you that, you know, stereotypes are stereotypes. You can judge people how you want to look at them. That's, you know, that's one way of living. But once you get below the surface, you know, we're all quite similar. I mean, the three of us were different, but we all have a passion for film, just like the characters in this film have something in common. They have a strained relationship with their parents. They struggle with the pressures of being a teenager. You know, they have different aspects of it. You know, the athlete struggles with pressure from his father. You have the grades, you know, social pressures, things like that. But I mean, John Hughes in this film just shares something truly special that I think that any child or, you know, teenager can watch and relate to currently going through high school, or any adult can reflect on and think of their adolescence and think, you know, this film really helps capture, you know, that feeling of growing up and really transitioning into adulthood almost. So,
Eric, what do you have?
I have Forrest Gump as my pick. Well, the thing with Forrest Gump is, when you're talking about like a movie that captures a generation, it's kind of tricky. So I thought about it in two ways. I thought of a movie that captures a generation, so what you're watching captures the decade or whatever period of time accurately. Or you can interpret it as, when you think back to, let's say, the 90s, which Forrest Gump came out in, you think, hey, oh yeah, Forrest Gump, like that's a 90s movie. And I think Forrest Gump does both of those really well. When you think of like top 5 90s movies, you're going to think Forrest Gump in that top 5. It's one of the most notable 90s movies that were released. And in terms of the film itself, it goes through multiple decades of time, and it captures each decade really, really well. Not only politically, it captures what was going on really well in the movies, the way people dressed, the music. It just really captures each generation that you see Forrest in the movie go through. So you see, you know, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even like the AIDS outbreak, which became like a big deal in society during that time, ends up playing a pivotal plot element late in the movie. So like to me, Forrest Gump is just like the perfect mixture of kind of all those things. And it's arguably one of the most quotable movies ever released, ever. I mean, people still quote that movie today. Life's like a box of chocolates, never know what you're going to get. Like this answer.
That was emotionally moving, and I don't know why it had to be at that point, but it was perfectly well done. So we're going to put 3 minutes on the clock to argue your last answers. Go.
I didn't remember the box of chocolates thing until you literally just said that.
So
I'm sorry, I have to like take
That's
away
why you pick Singing as the Rain, because you don't know what you're talking about.
I would argue Forrest Gump is a fairly quotable film. I think there's more quotable. I think there's more quotable films than Forrest Gump.
I can't think of anything beyond the box thing. I'm sorry. I'm really racking my brain here. I'm really being honest about this. I cannot think of anything.
But I just wanted to add
Mama
something I
always
didn't
told me
include.
to put the past behind me if I want to move forward.
I'd never heard that one before.
Did you even watch the movie?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I
probably
wanna
like
add
8
something
times,
I didn't
and that tells you
include in
something.
my first argument. I just wanted to add that Breakfast Club was actually selected in 2016 by the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress to be entered as a culturally historic and aesthetically significant film to society. So I mean, it's got the gravitas.
But my
it.
problem with Breakfast Club is this: years from now, people are gonna be like, "This movie's dated."
I mean, it's
You could watch the movie today and
is.
say, "This is so
No.
80s."
No.
It's stuck in the 80s.
Is it
Yes.
though?
And my problem with The Breakfast Club is the conflict in that movie is like meh. Everyone all of a sudden's like, you know what? We're all the same. And like,
It goes. It
Yeah,
pretty
much
much
is.
exactly how it goes.
progresses.
They all
naturally.
get around, they all share
it's
stories.
Just like us. You're stuck in the room with someone and you get along. You
but
figure out a
it's
way
so
to just
coincidental.
relate.
It's unrealistic.
Well, you only have 2 hours.
You
of
have
film,
one
really.
jock, you have one rich person, you have one guy who's like the troublemaker. It's so coincidental. I'm like, this is convenient.
It feels
You're
corny.
talking
It
about
absolutely
convenient. Why don't we
feels
talk
corny.
about Forrest Gump being
Yeah.
convenient?
Well, he just-
I mean, everything in his life just happens to lead to this.
Yeah, but the life
historic
message
event.
of Forrest Gump
I mean,
is
him
more
standing
realistic
at
than what the
Lincoln
Breakfast
Memorial.
Club is
What
saying.
is the exact message of Forrest Gump actually? Because like to me,
Because
that
you
just
can't
feels like
control
it
life.
just like means it's just like a dude who like a bunch of shit
Which
happened
goes to show you how much
who
you know about the movie. Because the
I
message
know
of
a
the
lot
movie is
about
you
the
can't
movie.
control life. Life's going to take you wherever it takes you. It's out of your control.
Forrest Gump,
Which is true for everybody.
Forrest Gump to me is like most famous for like just taking a dude and like putting him in every significant historical event for like a period of time. Like that to me is like the true message of Forrest Gump. You want to do
That's not
something
the
cute?
message.
Yeah.
If
You
I
wanna do
dumb
something
down
cute and
every
gimmicky,
movie,
do
I
that.
mean-
I'm sorry, that's what Forrest Gump is. Going back to the Breakfast Club, like he's right. Eric is absolutely right. You watch that movie, like if my kids were to watch, if I'm lucky enough to have kids, if my kids were to watch that movie, they're gonna think it's like the most corny thing ever because everyone in that movie is a stereotype. It's not necessarily
not-
real people. It's
it's-
almost like cartoons.
It's a
Except
film
the-
for teenagers and adults. It's something you appreciate when you watch it. It's not really a kid's film. They're not going to watch The Breakfast Club. They're not even going to want to watch Forrest Gump.
My kids will.
I don't even remember what the film was.
Those poor
Singing
kids is
in the
gonna
rain.
tie him to a chair
They're
and
not
just
gonna,
like have them watch
they're
it.
not going to want to watch that. They're going to go watch Avengers. They're not going to watch. But The Breakfast Club is
start watching the
significant to a
Avengers.
culture, the culture and a generation. I'm just talking about the generation that has watched that film and it's been culturally relevant to them.
Yeah, but every
Yeah, and that
generation
generation
watches
is
Forrest
gone
Gump.
in 20 years. So.
Ease up, ease up. We're out of time for this last round. Wyatt, you didn't defend your movie at all. I'll just say
Because no one attacked me. No one attacked me, so I
Eric's
just let it
opening
go.
line was about Singing in the Rain, and it never came back up again until Tom had to remember what your movie was.
Yeah.
So
No one attacked me. I was
So
too
I'm gonna
busy.
have
I was
to,
too
I'm gonna have
busy.
to push Singing in the Rain to the side because you didn't even give me a point to defend it with. I'm gonna have to say though, Eric kind of almost gave Tom the win in that scenario. You're talking about the generation-defining movie, and you said it is the most 80s thing you can watch, which is literally what it defined. You wanted to, the way I interpret it is, you wanted to talk about a genre-defining movie or a generation-defining movie. Watch The Breakfast Club. It encapsulated the 80s. It came out in the 80s. It is the 80s. I think John Hughes that's what he's best known for, is just capturing the 80s. I'm going to have to give it to The Breakfast Club for capturing that generation at that given moment and what it was like to be in the American high school in the 1980s.
Well, you're
you,
welcome. I mean,
Thank you, Eric.
yeah.
So
die.
we do have a tie. We have 1 point given between all three of you. So the tiebreaker
Convenient.
round is up. Eric thinks this is a hoax.
So we all win? Is that
We all win, guys.
Everyone gets their money and gets to leave.
money?
So the tiebreaker question is this. Who is the best movie president of all time? Eric, go. You have
Easy.
20 seconds.
Bill Pullman from Independence Day gave the greatest speech America ever heard. If he was a real president, hell yeah. I mean, come on. When he gives that speech and he's like, today we declare our Independence Day, I still get chills when I hear that. End of discussion. I mean, it's the best speech, arguably almost in movie history.
Wyatt, best movie president of all time.
Go to him next. I need to think about it. No, seriously, go to him because
Tom.
I mean, that's my answer for sure. Instead, I'm going to say, geez, I didn't even think of another answer because that is my answer.
That's a good
I mean,
answer.
I'll go Jamie Foxx, White House Down, because he in that film, he is a great movie president. He's a badass guy, you know.
Where's
At the
Nikes?
end where he comes out and he's just, you tried to kill me, I'm still here. I mean, that's a president I want in the White House.
Wyatt, come on, what's your answer?
Jesus Christ. I don't know, man. Best movie president? Man, I'm
President
struggling.
of the SFA.
President of the SFA. Former president of the Film Association. Can't think of a movie president. That's great. I can think of a presidential movie.
I need a guy who played the president.
A guy who
in
played
a movie.
the president in a movie.
You have 10 seconds.
I guess Josh Brolin's performance as W in the movie W, because that was like the most funny way of portraying George W. Bush ever, and everyone's always gonna remember that, and everyone always laughs at that movie.
All right, Eric, you have 20 seconds to defend your position or to attack others. Go.
All right. Bill Pullman at the end of that movie gets in like an F-35 and literally goes and shoots down aliens for not only his country, but the world. And I'm like, that's the guy who's getting reelected. Promise you, I'm there. Tuesday, election day, Bill Pullman. That's right.
What we've understood now is the only reason that Eric will ever vote in a presidential election is if Bill Pullman runs. Otherwise, he's not happening.
Get up there.
That's his writing candidate.
Yeah, his running candidate for the next 30 years is Bill Pullman.
I'll say this right now. For mine with Josh Brolin.
Is it
I have
your
an answer.
turn?
No, seriously. Josh Brolin, because
Defend your answer. Go.
All right, Josh Brolin is. It's so hard to play, to do biopic movies and stuff like that. And Josh Brolin's performance in that movie is very, very memorable. The movie might not be so good, but his performance in it really elevated it. You'll never forget that scene. You'll never forget the scene where you never forget the scene where they're actually talking about going into Iraq, and just like watching that whole conversation. Okay.
20 seconds, man. Come on, 20 seconds.
It sounded like you were trying to remember the scene you can never forget. No, but you couldn't even think of this movie president for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So that is your answer right there. I mean, obviously no one can argue with Eric. He's got the right answer here. I mean, we all would have said it. But Jamie Foxx, I mean, like, you know, he's a great guy. In the movie, in the film, he is, you know, like I said, he's a badass, and that's who you want as your president, someone that can stand up for themselves and not, you know, rely on everyone else to do it for you.
I think Bill Pullman stand up for
all
himself
right.
better than anyone
So
else.
we're done with the tiebreakers. It's my decision to decide the weakest candidate. I'm sorry, Wyatt. W? No one said Harrison Ford?
I was going to say, that's the only other one I can think of.
Like, what?
That's like Air Force One's in the back of my
Air
head.
Force One, kicking terrorists, kicking Gary Oldman while screaming, "Get off my plane!"
I mean, that's like
We need
it's
that
like,
now.
That's like
Yeah.
see, like, no, to me, I don't like that.
United plane, like, get off.
See, like, no, seriously, that line to me is like, get your motherfucking steaks off that motherfucking plane. It's like, it's so
wasn't the
annoyingly
president.
useless.
He was, yeah.
No,
but
like, I'm saying that line is something.
but Harrison Ford is a great president in that movie.
You're right, yeah.
And then when he cuts the wires like red, white, and blue.
I'm sorry, that movie's just dumb.
So Wyatt, unfortunately,
Yeah, I know.
you've lost the tiebreaker. So the final speed round is going to be between Eric and Tom. It's going to work similarly to the tiebreaker, where I have 4 questions that each of you will read, and the first one to reach the first one of you that gets all 4 or gets the most out of those 4 correct to me will win. You have 20 seconds to defend your answer, and 10 seconds to attack the other person's answer.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So, your first question, right off the top, what movie should never be remade?
What movie should never be remade? I'll tell you right now, if they remake this, I'll kill myself. The Godfather should never be remade. Please don't remake that movie ever, because it's literally like perfect. Do not remake it.
Back to the Future. Never remake it. No one wants it. I always see these Facebook articles, why we should remake Back to the Future. Never remake it. It is a gem. And I mean, I don't even want to see it. It's
All right,
perfect.
20 seconds to defend your answer. Go.
I mean, The Godfather won Best Picture. I mean, it's arguably the most well put together film ever, minus Godfather Part 2. But if you remake Godfather, then you're not gonna make a sequel. Back to the Future, though, is, you know, it's a cult movie. Godfather's like elite status movie.
Like I said, Godfather, I mean, I think there's an audience. I mean, if you want to update it to, you know, modern times, because
Defend Back to the Future.
But Back to the
You'll have time.
Future, Back to the Future, I mean, no one wants to travel to the future anymore. The future is scary. The future was exciting back then. No one wants to see what the future holds now. You're gonna, global warming hell in 50 years. No one wants to see that Back to the Future. It was a one-time thing.
Attack Back to the Future, Eric. Go for it. Go for the throat.
Okay. Well, in Back to the Future, we do see the future in the second one. So are we talking the whole franchise or just the first movie?
First movie.
Just the first movie? I mean...
And
because
you had 10 seconds, man.
well, I needed to clarify what I'm attacking.
10 seconds, attack The Godfather.
The Godfather, I mean, I think there's good actors and actresses that could do it. I think that, you know, maybe in 20 years they want to redo it. They should. I don't know. I don't think they should.
It's like, I was like, all right, yeah.
That's an impossible argument.
If I may interject, the movie that is most likely to get remade is Back to the Future.
No. Well, the question is not most likely to get made. It should never be remade.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to agree with Eric. They should never remake The Godfather. What, are you going to remake a movie about the 1930s? Like, it's not like the 1930s are getting any updated anytime soon. We have new 30s graphics, guys. Like, like it's not. It's so.
I'm excited.
I think they could do better with Back to the Future with the modern CGI and everything that we have now. We could probably do a little bit of updating to Back to the Future.
We could CGI Michael J. Fox to make him play the same role.
We could de-age him to play Marty McFly again.
So they can even add some stabilization in there for him too.
You can kill Michael J. Fox and then reanimate his head.
Yeah. So next question, who should play Batman next? Tom, go for it.
Next Batman, Ryan Gosling. I think Ryan Gosling is a terrific choice for Batman. He's just a really diverse actor. I think that Eric
All right, so you said
him.
Ryan Gosling? Your pick. Who should play Batman?
I would go someone who's been in the news but by playing Batman, Jake Gyllenhaal. I love Jake Gyllenhaal.
You'll have your time to defend him.
Oh, okay.
Just state the claim. State the claim. Tom, defend Ryan Gosling.
Ryan
Eric.
Eric. I like your choice, but Ryan Gosling is the clear choice here. I mean, he is asking to do a superhero film. He's never done it before. He's looking to, you know, break into some new ground. Everyone loves Ryan Gosling. He's a great Canadian guy. Everyone thinks he's so polite. And I think that he will really surprise audiences by being a terrific Bruce Wayne, for sure, and an even better Batman.
I have to say, though, a polite Batman would be my favorite thing in the world. I'm so sorry I shattered all the bones in your stomach.
That's all right.
Punch you in the face, sir.
Eric, 20 seconds to defend Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal can show he can play a grisly role. I mean, I saw Southpaw, which isn't the best movie, but he can play a grisly role. Nightcrawler, I mean, Nightcrawler and Southpaw combined is like Bruce Wayne and Batman. Like he could play that opposite. I'm just saying, Ryan Gosling, I laugh every time he smiles, so not afraid of him.
So he's done with that. Tom, 10 seconds to attack Jake Gyllenhaal.
You laugh every time you see Ryan Gosling because you love him. And I love him too, which is why you should play Batman. Jake Gyllenhaal, he's a creep in Nightcrawler. That's not like Batman at all.
Stop. 10 seconds to attack Ryan Gosling if you can.
All right, first of all, Batman is a creep. He spies on people all the time. Anyway, Ryan Gosling is way too nice to people. He's like, hey man, what's up? Yo girl, what up, Catwoman? I mean, that's gonna be the whole movie, is him doing that with blonde hair.
Stop. I have to say though, which Ryan Gosling is it? Because if it's Ryan Gosling from La La Land, good God, I don't want to see that movie. No, but if it's Ryan Gosling from Drive and it's just silent the entire time, not a bad choice. I'm going to have to go with the character actor in Jake Gyllenhaal, though. Because he's going to be creepy. And Batman, he's creepy. He's a creepy dude.
Because that sells tickets lately.
Creepy? Oh, you know it.
We need polite Batman.
We don't need a polite Batman, dude. He could play Superman.
So it is 3-1 Eric. So if Eric wins this next round, Eric has won the game.
Okay.
So Tom, you're going to really need to make this answer count. So that's why I'm going to give you the first lick at it.
Oh, thanks.
Original trilogy or the prequels?
Original trilogy, I guess, if I had to choose one.
So Eric, you're going to be defending the prequels. It's 50-50. Tom had the luck of the draw there. So, Tom, 20 seconds to defend the original trilogy.
The original trilogy, I mean, it's a childhood classic for all of us. I mean, it is a generation-defining movie, really. And the original trilogy is so good consistently compared to the prequels. I mean, Empire Strikes Back is one of the greatest films ever made. And Star Wars, the original Star Wars, I mean, no one saw that coming. It's just such a...
Yep. 20 seconds to defend the prequels, Eric.
Okay, so the prequels, yeah, the original trilogy, yeah, it was the original. But the prequels are more complex. More complex characters, more complex planets, creatures. The movies were just on a bigger scope. They weren't on like micro budgets like the first Star Wars. Sure, the movies got more expansive, but the prequels more complex. There's more character development there. Plus, you have to tie it in.
That's your 20. 10 seconds to attack the prequels.
The prequels are more complex because the original trilogy did all the heavy lifting. It had a foundation to stand on, which was the original trilogy. The prequels would not exist without the original trilogy.
Okay. Attack the original trilogy.
Well, actually, the prequels are 1, 2, 3. That's 4, 5, 6. Anyway, so yeah, the prequels though have to tie everything together. Like you don't know why some things are the way they are, so the prequels have to come in and be like, how do we do it?
Done. I mean, we all know the answer, right? It's it's the original
I feel
trilogy.
bad winning that one.
That's the thing that kept you in the game.
Yeah.
So, because you got that last one, Eric, I'll go to you first. Greatest third installment of any movie series of all time?
Is it a trilogy or like a
No,
movie
it's just
franchise?
the greatest third movie. It could be the end of a trilogy, or it could be the third and 6. It could be the third and 4.
Okay. I would say Dark Knight Rises is the most solid.
Dark Knight Rises?
Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3. 20 seconds to defend The Dark Knight Rises. Go.
All right. First of all, you have Batman Begins, you have The Dark Knight, which are phenomenal movies, and people are going to sit there and say, how do you do a follow-up to The Dark Knight? And Christopher Nolan did a really good job. And in considering the original plan was to have Heath Ledger in there, but since he passed away, you had to make a new movie from scratch. He did a really good job. It ties everything together. It's a solid movie. It's not weak like Return of the Jedi or like Godfather 3. It's a solid movie, and the whole trilogy is solid.
Tom, defend Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3 was such an emotional experience for everyone that saw it. You know, if coming off the back of phenomenal Toy Story and Toy Story 2, Toy Story really, ushered Pixar into just relevance. Toy Story 3 really resonated with a lot of viewers as far as moving on from your childhood and into adulthood.
10 seconds to attack Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3 is good, but Toy Story 2 is not. So we're looking at a third movie, though. You have to connect the whole franchise at this point. That's what the third movie has to be in a trilogy. It has to connect everything.
Bold move in calling Toy Story 2
I agree.
a bad film.
That
That's
is
a bold statement.
I'll stick by my guns.
10 seconds to attack The Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises was a disappointment. I love Batman Begins. I love The Dark Knight, which I know you don't.
What are you talking about?
I think The Dark Knight Rises was a big step down, and I think...
Stop.
I think.
I'm going to have to say this. It's not my favorite of the trilogy, but I have to go with Dark Knight Rises. Toy Story 2 is the better movie of the trilogy to me. I have to go Dark Knight Rises for the best third installment out of the two you guys have proposed. So Eric is our winner of the day with a score of 4-2. Well, 4-2 over Tom, and then Wyatt, you're 1. Killing it with Meryl Streep, though, man. Killing it with Meryl Streep.
Congrats, Eric.
Yeah, so congratulations,
Thanks, guys.
Eric.
I have to admit, it was pretty tough competition.
So when do you get your stipend?
Yeah, so
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
So thank you guys for coming with me today. Thank you guys for all arguing about this, for getting very passionate.
Oh, of course.
Wyatt, remember next time, defend the movie that you're going to be talking about.
No one went after me, man, because there was no argument.
Bring up some points on why Singing in the Rain is so good, man.
I did in my opening statement, and no one had an argument for it.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching Silver Screen Smackdown. This time, I have been your host, Alec Roman. Thank you to Eric, Wyatt, and Tom for being here, and we'll see you guys all next time.